morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is the Danny and Troy show, but this time it's going to be called the Troy and Danny show because it's all about Troy, who is going to be performing for us. We've got two takes for you as part of our program, one which we previously did, and then one that Troy did by himself in the performance sector of our 7-step process of brand storytelling. And we will introduce you. Let Troy introduce himself principally, and then we'll do the two plays, and then we will chat about it for a few minutes.
Exactly.
Okay, brand storytelling. This is number 7.
Yes.
And it is from 1 to 7. 1 is the monologue. Number 7 is performing the monologue. Troy, would you like to say a word or two?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's been an amazing journey. I mean, and that's the point also that we'll talk a bit more about later. But yeah, just going through these processes, these 7 steps, like Danny said, number 1, the monologue, just writing down what you want to talk about. And we've been basing ours off this Shakespeare, the most famous monologue out there, with All the World's a Stage. And yeah, coming to the aspect, this number 2 is the audition. So getting ready to, play a part. Number 3 is about casting and selecting the characters and your own characteristics. Number 4 being the rehearsal. So getting up there, you've made the cut, you're on stage, but you still need to rehearse. Number 5 being the, where are we at? Number 5 is movement. Yeah. So yeah, and we talk about not just moving your body, and there'll be some things in this that we talk about as well in terms of positioning, but also moving through the steps. So yeah, achieving your goals. And number 6 being voice. And yeah, it's something that for me anyway, I really overlooked, but how you can use your voice, this power, and yeah, utilizing it in this space. And 7 being the performance. And yeah, just to reiterate, it's not really the end, it's not the destination, it's the journey that we're talking about. And the journey I've been on just to get through these 7 steps has been amazing. But yeah, I will move to what we've got, and let's show the audience, the listeners, what we're talking about. Rather than talk it to death, we want to show, and this is what we've been doing all along, is giving insight into our journey.
Right. This is, the first take is director, performer. So you'll see me from time to time, and just get through it and take note that this is what happens in reality, right?
Exactly.
When people are performing, we consider this to be a dress rehearsal, right?
Yep.
And this happens all the time. Director's always sticking his foot into people's, well, not only his own mouth, but other people's mouths too. So let's see what we've got, Troy.
Right. So just need to click a few buttons here, and then we're on. All the World's a Stage. And all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and they have their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant.
Don't be fast. Don't try to plow through it.
Mewling and puking in the nurse's arms.
You've seen it with River, right?
Yeah, I've seen it with my own children.
Yeah, you can laugh about it too.
Well, I imagine myself as well.
Yeah.
When I was mewling and puking.
Yeah.
In my mother's arms. And then as a whining schoolboy with my satchel.
Yeah. Feel it, feel it, feel
shining, waking up in the morning, but yet creeping to school like a snail, unwillingly sitting there and
Yeah.
wishing I was somewhere else.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, you got it, Troy. Keep going.
And then, oh, the lover.
Ah,
It
the
hit me
lover.
hard. My first love.
Yeah, slow
But she
down.
broke my heart.
I don't see it. What did she do?
She fell in
Broke
love
your
with
sa-
my friend. I mean, what happened was I
Yeah.
sent a love letter and I wasn't confident enough to admit it was from me. And for
Go
some
ahead. Now
reason,
switch and go to the script now. Don't change. Go from there to the script.
right, that's my furnace inside me, the woeful ballad. My mistress's eyebrow
Mm-hmm.
looking in another direction.
Mm-hmm. See it.
Then the soldier, making an oath to myself, a little less bearded than I am now, but honoring what needed to be done. Looking for that bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth.
Mm.
And then the justice, growing a fat belly, having a beard in formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. Continuing to play my part. Moving into the lean and slippered pantaloon. My spectacles upon my nose. What seems to be a world too wide. Until, again, turning towards a childish treble, whistle in my sound, and my last scene of all, ending this strange eventful history to mere oblivion. Sun's teeth, sun's eyes, sun's taste, sun's everything.
Beautiful, Troy. Absolutely beautiful. You got something there.
We got something there of those words, and
Yep.
what we're doing with this series is really capturing what it is there and putting it into the activity kits as much as we possibly can. But yeah, like you'll see in a very short moment when we play the next one, the difference of me doing it myself. And that was without Danny being there. And yeah, what I want to emphasize is the importance of having somebody like Danny coming in and directing. But yeah, the activity kits will get you through this process of self-analysis, self-definition, development, and display. So let's go to the next one, shall we?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the performance. This is the 7th of the 7-part series from datalogicalservices.com on brand storytelling. And I'm Troy Sadowski, data scientist and CTO, and I'll be performing the quite famous Act 2, Scene 7 from William Shakespeare's As You Like It. This is the monologue, All the World's a Stage. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. I can visualize myself mewling and puking in my mother's arms. And then the whining schoolboy, full of enthusiasm, my backpack and morning face, yet creeping like a snail unwillingly to school. And then, oh, the lover. My first love, sighing like a furnace with a woeful ballad. A letter sent, but not enough courage to admit it was me who sent it. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, doing what I had to do, in honor and sudden quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, with a round fat belly, and my eyes severe and bearded in a formal cut. I played my part, full of wise saws and modern instances. So the 6 age shifts into a lean and slippered pantaloon, with my spectacles on my nose and pouch on my side. I view a world too wide. Turning again towards childish treble and a whistle in my sound, the last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is the second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Okay.
All right. I found the first one in a strange way to be more affirmative, right?
Cool.
More contemplative, right?
Yeah.
More real.
Exactly.
The second time, it was a bit mournful,
Sure.
but you could tell that the person, even if it's yourself that you're addressing it to, wasn't there. That's how I felt, right?
Yes.
That if I had been there, I would have said, who are you talking to? and
Sure.
then we would have realigned that,
Yep.
somehow.
Yeah.
Because we often say that when you are doing something that you're not familiar with, you can say under your breath, "Hey, Danny, did you know the whole world's a stage?" Something to a crutch to get you going.
Exactly.
And that's why we equate the theater so strongly with public performance. And this public performance is part of how you identify yourself to the public,
Yeah.
to your company, to yourself,
Sure.
to your future. And this is what people see. They can see, which one would you make a commercial out of? The
Mhm.
first one or the second one? I think it depends. The second one, we could fill in the background with a party, something like that, right?
Sure.
We can always edit this kind of stuff. But the first take was more or less like, Hamlet holding Yorick's skull in his hand, and both
Exactly.
work, but it depends on what your objective is.
Well, that's right. And what I believe you're talking about is the display. And we talked about
Mm,
this in terms of how you want to be represented. And yeah, going back one step from display, it's development. And yeah, what you want to bring in and what you want to, leave out. But before that, it's define the character. And yeah, this is what I've noticed, even just for myself, I hadn't really had a clear sense of who I am. Defining
mm,
Troy Sadowski was a really um, intriguing and enlightening process for me. And
mm.
yes, I'm a data scientist. I have a creative drive. I am interested in storytelling and I want to express myself through brand storytelling. And that's just one part. That's who I'm displaying right now. So I went through the whole process of I've already identified and defined myself. Now I'm developing it into a brand storyteller, an expert
Mhm.
in consultant in this space. And this is me displaying it for everybody to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You've gone through 7 rounds, right?
Sure.
And each one is you expose two things to yourself. You expose your strengths and your weaknesses,
Exactly.
and you take note of them. The weaknesses, you want to build on that. You want to make them stronger. The strengths, maybe they're too strong. Maybe they need to be toned down a little bit,
Sure.
right? Or you tailor make this kind of stuff. While you were talking there, I was thinking, okay, you kept the same cadence, the same volume principally in both monologues, but you might find a moment to break that and do something like all the world's a stage, which would you go through this whole expansion, they
Exactly.
some acting schools do that. They have
Sure.
you just go crazy with it,
Yeah,
until you've explored your range and
exactly.
you've broken down some of the barriers that you feel, it's a poem, for God's sakes. Poems are always read in this way. Oh, are
Yeah.
they? you know
So
and
they
this
have
is
to be.
this is exploration. We spoke
Exactly.
about that from the beginning. You
Yes.
start looking at yourself because it's all about you. If we're going to be doing personal branding, or going from personal branding to your corporate branding, or whatever branding you want to do, right? Each one has a relationship to you, to a part of you. And
That's
those parts of you we need to address, because depending on the situation that you're in, you would address your monologue, your performance in a different way.
exactly.
What do you do when the audience is not listening, right? Let's say you're at a conference and it's a dinner and you're speaking, right? And people are having a drink or two and they're talking and talking. What do you do? The worst thing you can do is try to command their attention, right?
Sure.
Best thing you can do at that point in time is to let them speak. And
Sure.
then eventually, everybody will realize it got really quiet and they would put their attention back on you. This is technique. Some things in order to keep people's attention focused on you and what you're talking about, right? Your story, and have people become inspired from hearing you talk about your life.
Exactly.
You're being very brave and you're sticking it out there. And those who do stick it out there oftentimes don't have the skills to do it. And of course, I'm thinking about politicians. Imagine, a debate like was once popular in the United States, right? We don't have a moderator. The audience is the moderator,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
They're going to tell you by listening, right, to them, whether or not you've got their interest or not. When it's dead quiet and you can hear a pin drop, that's a good sign, but you've got to use like a third ear, to know that while you're going through your soliloquy. And this is all part of the experience, that you can explore for yourself. And then if you get caught up in it and lost, give us a call, right? We'll arrange something with you. We'll help you.
That's
because we've been through it, a lot of it, not all of it. And, we don't want to die without sharing it. It just seems a waste, when people die, they take it all with them. And it's like, wait a minute. Wait. I don't want a videotape, I want the experience. And that's what we want to give people. Experience. The best teacher.
We're having fun, and this is a point we brought in many times. And we're just doing it for ourselves because it's enjoyable. And like I mentioned, the insights and the fulfillment that I got from this process of knowing who I am and how to present myself. Now, there's two things I really got out of this, and I wanted to talk about the distinction. And I'm going to be using these words, which are, purposely brought together. One is acting like yourself versus being yourself. Now, I'm using two, distinct aspects. I'm sure many people have heard these phrases before, but let's break it down. Acting like yourself, in our sense, where we bring in the theater, a theatrical approach to make a performance, but it's about yourself. It's intentionally directing yourself to send a message out, but it's all about you. And this is what Danny touched on as well, is we love the aspects of a business being developed around a person. And this is where you can see many examples of, just mega success. Now, being yourself is, you can be yourself, but it's kind of just floating through. We have the analogy of the jellyfish. Of course, you cannot get away from, but you're being yourself, you always be yourself. But that's, just going in the stream with the tide. Now, we help people act like themselves, and that's what I'm putting on display in those two videos. You can see me acting like myself in the first one, and when the second one, I pushed it a little further to the acting. And like Danny is saying, it's very, noticeable. But the whole journey of going through that process and discovering, hey, there's a difference between acting like myself and being myself is what we want to give to everybody that participates in these activity kits that are now, available on datalogicalservices.com/onstage.
And Troy, just to finish this up, I want to say that, that was just two. Can you imagine doing it 100 times? Right?
I'm going to keep doing it for sure. And I have, and you would have seen if you've been following our series, a little monologue, a poem about datalogical services, and I'm really itching to get there and apply. I mean, Shakespeare is Shakespeare, and we talked about this, Danny and I talked about this before. It's like, wow, it's so overwhelming for me to try, and it took a lot of courage to actually get there where we are and publish what we did, what I did. But I want to move to datalogical services in the poem, in the soliloquy that I can own and just, know.
Yep.
And that's where it's going next for me, no matter
Yep.
whether it develops and I share it with anybody. I'm sure I will, but it's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for my own fun, my own enjoyment, my own fulfillment. And
You just remember, when you're doing it, you're having a conversation, right?
Yes.
You're always having a conversation, whether it's with yourself or an audience or another character, or a spirit world, whatever.
Right.
There's a message in those words.
Exactly.
I guess you could say, almost an eternal message. And the more research you do into that play and that particular speech, you start to realize that the 7 stages of man are about the 7 sins, 7 deadly sins. So you begin to build on what you say. You don't have to say it, but it's in the words.
Sure.
It's in you. You can say something and I've done it myself. I start talking and I start thinking about my mother, and then I'm somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the people listening are thinking, but suddenly everything gets quiet, not because I'm commanding their attention, but because I am so involved in what I'm doing. I demand their attention without demanding it. They want to join me. And that's what you did in the first one. I was there. You didn't rush through it. You took your time. We're not saying, okay, you got 30 seconds. You've got all day to do this.
Yeah.
However long it takes, as long as it's real, right? We're not pushing anything. We're discovering.
Thank you for giving me the attention in this episode. And like I will be going further with it. Like you said, it's just the beginning.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Troy.
Great.
Been great. Thank you very much.